Theodore returns. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Not gonna lie, I was starting to think we wouldn't ever see this. But we've got the Gibson USA Theodore here with us today, and it's in the natural finish. In case you happen to have missed this, back in 2022, Gibson came out with this new archive collection. Since then, we've never heard from again, but as the story goes, Ted McCarty, president of Gibson at the time, his name is on the patents for all the most popular 50s and 60s models. He had this sheet laying around, and they found it in their archives, and they're like, an unproduced Gibson design. Apparently there's a few of these, so they decided to make it. And it looked like this. They made 103 of each color. So there was a natural, there was a wine red, and an ebony version. And a lot of people were quick to complain at their initial $5,000 asking price, but these things exponentially skyrocketed in value for a couple of months. Like, they could sell for as much as 10 grand. Nowadays, usually you're still within that 4,000 to 7,000 range, with the natural ones ultimately being proven the most popular. But it was a very unique kind of tulip-shaped design. They featured these alder bodies with a walnut center stripe. I love multi-layered wood guitars, so I thought that was very fascinating. But it's kind of like a Les Paul special. You got dual P90s and a wrap tailpiece. There was no binding on the fretboard, just dot inlays. And there was a lot of hate for these, but the people who bought them and tried them had a lot of love. For me, it comes down to their gigantic 50s neck profile. They might not look like much, but there was something here. So Gibson took the feedback of, hey, 5,000 is too much, and they decided to create a new Theodore Standard within Gibson USA production. But now that we're outside of the custom shop, these have come down to 2,000. Now, is it worth buying or not? That's what we're gonna try to figure out today. But what other differences do we have here? Look, we had a pretty complex dual volume, dual control over there. Now we've simplified it to a master volume, master tone. We've ditched the poker chip because it gets way too close to our pickguard. And the pickguard itself is actually looking quite different right here, simply because humbuckers now instead of P90s. Besides just our control layout, they've actually changed the location of pretty much everything. Even the output jack seems to be a little bit higher on this one. We no longer have the center stripe, which is a real bummer. So no walnut on this one, and the body woods have changed. This is mahogany. This one is alder. Now, to be fair, it's not really that huge of a color difference, especially if you want one of the more solid colored versions, because these are offered in the exact same flavors, natural, ebony, and a red. But now take a look at the custom shop one. Do you see how rounded the body is along the entire edge here until you kind of get to that tulip point? If you come over to the Gibson USA version, it's more of a hard edge the whole way until you get about right here, and that's when it starts to round over like the custom shop. So that is very significantly different. But something that I think people will like is, look, we've got trapezoid inlays and binding on the neck. Technically a premium feature over the custom shop. And over here, we've got the Explorer style headstock. And on the custom shop one, you have the custom shop version of the Explorer headstock. Similar shape, but very different look. And we've got a different serial number style and tuners, as we can compare here. But here's the thing I'm really sad about, is the back. Since we have different woods now, you don't have this really cool tree design going on. The canopy of the leaves and the trunk, because this was mahogany neck, alder, all that. Come over here, you don't have that center stripe, and the mahogany is going to match on most examples. But here's another thing. Look at the heel right here. You've got a bump. The custom shop version does not have any lump right there, so you wouldn't feel that. And call me crazy, but I think the tulips actually stand out a little bit farther on the custom shop version. Maybe they're a little bit smaller on the USA. And if we want to get really nitpicky, they took a screw from our backplate. Let me get a feel for the custom shop one. I don't think the contour change right here is really going to affect anything, but now let's feel the USA. Oh wow, that is weird looking down here and not seeing the contouring start, but it doesn't feel like it affects anything. It's mainly the neck profile. It's kind of like an in-between neck, but it feels much smaller and thinner. So if you love your custom shop Theodore because of the neck profile, you're probably not gonna like these. But if you wanted to try a Theodore without the $5,000 plus price tag, that's kind of who this is for. Do I think this will ever be Gibson's #1 selling model? No, unless they start to have some fun with them. So I received an email from a viewer of the show, completely unsolicited, just happens to be the day I was planning to record this episode, and he says, they should make pink Theodores. And when I saw the title of that email, I'm like, no, what are you talking about? That would be awful. But sure enough, I click on his email, and he has this vague Photoshop mock-up of it, and it looks pretty good. So I told him, I wasn't thinking so, but yeah, I think you're right. And then he responded with, yeah, tulips come in so many colors. And that's when it hit me. Gibson, make floral colors on these. The shell pinks, a nice light lavender color. They could have had these perfect for like Easter and all that. I think they're going too vintage with their color offerings here. If they could take these, convert them to the cream plastics and offer some festive colors, I think they could sell more of these and get people to try them. Or maybe offer a more stripped back special version for like $1,500-ish that doesn't have the neck binding and everything. Or if we'll ever see like an Epiphone release and maybe then they'll give us the fun festive colors. So we'll have to see what the future holds in that aspect, because these are relatively new at the time of recording. I don't know how well they're selling for Gibson. It's pretty cool that they're offering it in a rectangular style. It's kind of like a Gibson Explorer case, except for shrunken down. You've got your yellow piping. The interior is a nice dark red color. You've got a little bit of a neck hump right there. Then case candy. Looks like all of our usual stuff. Gibson app. Ooh, I'm surprised this one gets a multi-tool polishing cloth, but no Theodore paperwork or COAs or anything like that. But you do get a strap. And here's a sample of the box tag for historical purposes. But now let's go ahead and compare it to the custom shop version. So we got the brown exterior is about the same, but everything else, it's different. It's your Lifton style, 50s Carina type of case. You got your double locking clasps and your custom shop style useless one. Slightly different handle, but most importantly, the interior of this one's like pink. It's a little bit more in your face. And I would say the compartment was much larger in these. You got a more deluxe strap, COA, and of course that paperwork we were looking at earlier. But to learn more about the Gibson USA production version, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Here's the Theo naked without a pickguard on it. It kind of has that fish shape to it, so if we had like a quilted veneer over top of it and a nice aqua blue finish, that'd be cool. But it appears that they're using two-piece mahogany bodies on these. At least that's how it is on this example. You can see the center seam right there. And this body does have some light chatoyant movement to it. But let's go ahead and dive into our pickups. I was actually surprised to see Gibson put these in here. It's a 57 Classic in the neck and a 57 Classic Plus in the bridge. Gibson does not put these in guitars very often anymore. They tend to favor the burst buckers. However, Gibson has tons of dual humbucker guitars. I kind of like the whole P90 thing, but you could make the argument, it just looks like a special at that point. What they should have did is blend it. Have a P90 neck and a humbucker bridge just like the BFGs. Then it would have offered something brand new within their lineup that isn't already available, as well as this unique body shape. So if nothing else, I'd be really interested in seeing that happen as like a small limited edition run or something. So that's what's great about this model is they're not necessarily tied down within history, so they can do whatever they want. But within the circuit, the Plus reads 8.18 k ohms, the neck 7.87, and the middle, just for fun, 4.04. Antique Natural is the color code there, and it has a long neck tenon. Kind of an interesting shelf right here with the neck joints. And of course we have that maple block capping off our truss rod. And in the bridge pickup cavity it's marked THS00. And another angle of our cavity. Now let's take a look at the bridge and tailpiece. It's just like what you find on the 50s or 60s Les Paul Standard. It's a Gibson ABR1, however it's mounted like a Nashville style bridge with bushings in the body. And it's a lightweight aluminum tailpiece. I've never really been a big fan of the design of the Theodore pickguard. I don't think they're there yet. It looks so blocky. I'm curious, does a Les Paul pickguard look better? I don't think the answer is yes, because you just start to see a Les Paul disguising itself as a flower. I guess let me know, do you prefer this or this? Maybe you could like batwing guard it and match the contours of the body somehow. That could be interesting. Or take a screenshot and draw a pickguard that you think would look better. Here's what the current one looks like. It is multi-ply, just like the custom shop version. Again, we've got that master volume, master tone, the three-way toggle switch, and the output jack on the front. Moving on from our mahogany body, we've got that mahogany neck with the rosewood fretboard. Pretty standard 24 3/4 inch scale length, 12 inch fretboard radius. You've got your acrylic trapezoid inlays with the bound fretboard. I measure 1.71 for the nut width, creasing to 210. First fret neck depth 0.84, and the 12th a rather skinny 0.91. Here's that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret, still a C shape. But our new ones are the custom shop. You can just see that's a vastly different neck profile as far as how thick it is. So more of a tapered C versus a full C, almost U-shaped territory. I'm kind of sad about it, but at the same time, I was totally expecting this. Gibson USA's 50s neck is nowhere near the custom shop big baseball bats. They just don't make them like that. But here's our headstock. I'm ever thankful that they at least gave us the Gibson Mother of Pearl logo rather than putting a decal. However, in that $1,500 version, I was hypothesizing I would be okay with a decal. But here's a look at our truss rod. Everything's good. And our regular blank cover. But now I'm curious about body dimensions. Our wingspan's about 10 2/16, which is the same as compared to the custom shop. And I'd call it 15.5 inches long for the body, where it joins to the neck, and about 1.5 inches thick. Moving on to the backside, the control cavity surprised me. So we take this off and we can see that's the regular SG routing, but look where they put the pots. Normally the SG would be like here and there, but they askewed it to look different on the front. In doing that, if you wanted to add 2 additional pots, it kind of makes things tight. But we've got a strap button down here and one on our horn. And then we can just run up alongside the back of the neck. Nothing crazy going on here. No volutes or anything like that. But our serial number dates it to the 342nd day of 2023. Even though this is technically a 2024 model when it was officially released, they were cranking these out beforehand. And we've got the Mini Grover tuners on it. Made in USA. All said and done, 6 pounds, 10.1 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this new version sounds. Due to the fact that this one has humbuckers, the other one has P90s, comparing them doesn't really make any sense. They're gonna sound very different. So let's just appreciate this one for what it is. Some nice bite to it. I like that bridge pickup. Chimey. Especially that middle position, very telling. Maybe not quite raunchy enough to be a telly, but pretty good for humbuckers. Now let's kick on some dirt. I've got to say, it actually plays really nicely. I think it sounds good. It's got that more classic rock style tones to it. I think that's what they were going with the 57 Classics and having it a little bit hotter in the bridge. This one, it's a little bit neck heavy. I mean, it just wants to sit perpendicular to you. But I am not a big fan of the tuner selection. These buttons are so hard to grip. They're so tiny, but you know, maybe if you have smaller hands, it won't be as big of an issue. They're just so close together on top of it. The whole neck profile thing, that's just personal preference. If you find the big, overly chunky one of the custom shop to be a bit too much, give this a try. I don't really know if this is ever going to become a popular model for Gibson, but I like that they're trying something new. It's quirky, it's a little bit of an underdog. I mean, is it really worth the $2,000 for an experimental model? That's up to you, but you also have to keep in mind, $2,000 can you buy a whole lot of different guitars, but in Gibson's family of stuff, this is like entry level, so I guess I understand the price point that they have it at. Is it my favorite guitar I've demoed? No, but honestly, I liked it more than I thought I would. But if money's no object, I think the original custom shop one looks better. There's something weird about this one with humbuckers that just doesn't quite jive. But all right, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this demo model, feel free to check it out on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. And hey, you might enjoy this next video.